You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. In World War II, the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Forces undertook a significant campaign aimed at crippling Nazi Germany's supply of petroleum, oil, and lubrication products, known as the WWII Oil Campaign. This initiative was a critical component of the broader Allied strategic bombing operations, targeting refineries, synthetic fuel plants, storage facilities, and other vital infrastructure across Germany and Axis-controlled Europe. The strategic importance of Germany's dependence on oil and related products for its war machinery was recognized by Britain before the war began. The Royal Air Force initiated the strategic bombing with attacks on Germany starting in 1940. The American entry into the war in December 1941 saw the introduction of daytime precision bombing raids, such as the notable Operation Tidal Wave, which targeted refineries in Romania in 1943. The campaign's final significant strategic raid in the European theater hit a refinery in Norway in April 1945. Throughout the war, the focus on oil targets fluctuated, sometimes taking a back seat to other priorities within the Allied combined bomber offensive. These priorities included countering German V-weapon attacks, destroying the German Air Force, or disrupting transport networks to pave the way for the 1944 invasion of Western Europe. Before World War II began, the British had already realized how crucial Germany's fuel supplies were, as noted in their Western Air Plan 5C. As 1940 unfolded, the strategies for British bombing raids kept shifting due to new orders from the Air Ministry. At the start of June, the plan was to prioritize hitting oil targets at night. However, if these targets couldn't be found during dark nights, they'd switch to bombing other military industries, but were cautioned to avoid indiscriminate action. By June 20th, bombing oil targets dropped to third in line, after strikes on the German aircraft industry and the communication lines supporting German forces at the front. This priority briefly changed to target German ships, but by mid-July, attacking oil targets regained importance, marked as a secondary priority in a strategy focusing on concentrated efforts against 5 specific oil refineries. Sir Charles Portal, however, was skeptical about the effectiveness of these plans, pointing out that it was challenging for the average crews to locate just a few targets, even under moonlit conditions. The Royal Air Force considered Axis oil industries critical to the war effort. By February 1941, the British Air Staff predicted that if the RAF's Bomber Command could destroy half of 17 listed targets, it could potentially cut the Axis oil production capacity by as much as 80%. In August 1941, the Butt Report shed light on the less-than-ideal accuracy and effectiveness of Royal Air Force bombings. Despite this, at the Casablanca Conference in 1943, Air Chief Marshal Arthur Harris underscored the critical role of striking oil facilities in Axis territories. The Royal Air Force's first strike on a European target during the war targeted the Ploiesti oil refineries in Romania on June 12, 1942. This initiative to target oil infrastructures continued, but was not a top priority until 1944. Due to the need to focus on German V-weapon sites in France under Operation Crossbow and disrupting transportation in preparation for the invasion of France. By March 1944, a new strategy aimed at crippling the Nazi war machine was adopted by the British Ministry of Economic Warfare. This plan called for bombing 14 synthetic oil plants and 13 refineries in Nazi Germany, aiming to cut the Axis's oil production by half, which was 33% below what the Nazis needed. Along with attacking oil targets, the plan also prioritized hitting facilities involved in fighter plane, ball bearing, rubber, and bomber production. The decision to make oil facilities the top target by September 3, 1944, was influenced by preliminary bombings in May and reliable intelligence, including ultra-intercepts, highlighting both the importance and vulnerability of these targets. In June 1944, an estimate suggested that 32,000 tons of bombs would be necessary to take out 10 key oil sites in the Ruhr area. Harris agreed to focus extra resources on these targets, even running a unique mission that used only bomb-carrying fighters to give bomber crews a break and catch the enemy off guard. The Allies began leveraging reconnaissance photos in late summer 1944 to time their attacks when production resumed at facilities, aiming at the infrastructure's vital points like the electrical grid and utilities, described by author Donald Miller as a significant breakthrough. However, the poor weather in the fall and winter led to a higher amount of bombs being used on transportation targets rather than oil sites, including a significant bombing on the benzol plant in Linz, Austria, on October 16, 1944. In January 1945, the focus on hitting oil targets was reduced. Additionally, to cut off oil supplies from Romania to Germany, the Royal Air Force expanded its use of aerial mines in the Danube River. Even though the Royal Air Force and its leader Harris highlighted the critical value of targeting oil installations during the war, Harris was initially not in favor of making those targets the top priority. However, he later admitted that the focus on oil targets turned out to be a complete success, although he maintained some skepticism about the campaign's prospects at the time. He referred to the strategy as akin to betting on a long shot in a race that unexpectedly comes out on top. After the war, specific directives from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, specifically Directive 1067, banned Germany from producing oil until July 1947. Meanwhile, the United States Army set plans in motion to fix up and utilize petroleum facilities as necessary, and to deal with surplus captured equipment. Following a detailed examination by the European Technology Mission and a March 1946 report, the United States Bureau of Mines brought on board 7 synthetic fuel experts from Operation Paperclip to work in a chemical plant in Louisiana, Missouri that specialized in Fischer-Tropsch processes. Years later, in October 1975, Texas A&M University embarked on the German Document Retrieval Project, culminating in a comprehensive report dated April 28, 1977. This document delved into the final reviews of German oil plants and the questioning of German scientists by various intelligence and research groups, including the British Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee, the U.S. Field Information Agency, Technical, and the Combined Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee. Even though the combined bomber offensive had its moments of success by the spring of 1944, it hadn't really thrown the German economy into chaos or majorly disrupted the production of crucial items. That is, until the bombing runs focused on oil facilities began. These missions were the first to really hit their mark, with the United States Strategic Bombing Survey calling the damage catastrophic. Interestingly, German industry, which relied mostly on coal, wasn't hit too hard directly by these oil attacks. However, the United States Strategic Bombing Survey found that the overall strategic bombing strategy, especially the attacks on transport systems, played a huge role in bringing down the German economy, possibly the biggest role of all. Several top German military figures also emphasized how vital the oil campaign was in defeating Nazi Germany. Adolf Galland mentioned in his book that it was the most important factor leading to Germany's defeat. Hermann Göring, the Luftwaffe's head during the war, saw it as the utmost in deadliness. And Albert Speer in his memoirs stated that the campaign marked the end of German armaments production. The campaign's impact was both immediate and decisive, wrapping up in less than a year. Luftwaffe Field Marshal Erhard Milch vividly described the effect of the British and American efforts, saying, "The British left us with deep and bleeding wounds, but the Americans stabbed us in the heart." Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.